Hello, welcome to another edition of RC Repair 101. Tonight we're going to be repairing and replacing the rear differential in an HPI Wheelie King. So if you're ready to get started, roll up your sleeves and let's get going. I'll do that and I'll be right back with you. Okay, now our next step for to remove the tires is we've got to remove the whole axle housing so we can get at the diff. To remove that housing, to be able to get to the gears, we have to completely remove it from the truck. The first step of removing this is you have to remove the top of the housing right here. When you do so, it's really hard to see in this angle in this video, but there's a little E-clip or C-clip that you want to pull off on each side, and that should allow you to lift this right up. These little C-clips on the side here are a pain in the butt. They're my worst nightmare. I hate them. Be careful when you take them off. They're really hard to get off, but they go flying if you don't take your time. I know from experience. In fact, tomorrow I have to add one on my shopping list. But as you see, I took them off, and the whole brace lifts right up, so that's a big help. So now our next step will be removing from the shocks and the rest of the truck. I will do so and I'll be back with you. The next step is removing the center screw that holds pretty much the base of it on there. So I'm going to remove that screw, and then we need to remove the shocks. Well, I removed the shocks and that center shock and center shaft, and we are free and breezy. So now what we need to do is remove the cover. I left the shocks on because there's more C-clips and I cannot stand them things. They're a pain in my butt. I do not like them. If I can avoid dealing with them, I will. So we're going to have the floppy shocks on here in our way a little bit, but that's fine. Adds to the challenge. Now we start taking it apart, screw by screw. A little note to self, these braces that hold the shocks on, there's 4 screws on the top of the casing. You remove those, the shocks will come off, so you won't have to take them out of the truck. The gears out of here so we can see what exactly is going on, but make sure you pay attention to how it goes. It makes it a lot easier trying to put it back together. I don't think this is our problem, but I'm going to replace this anyways. Better safe than sorry. You want a lot of teeth left on these. You don't want them all missing or wore down. This one here looks okay, but again, I think I'm going to replace it. We need to open this up and see the gears on the inside. I think that's where our problem is going to be. While you're taking this apart, I always think a good rule of thumb is to test your bearings. Make sure they're good. And how you do that is you take your thumb and your forefinger, put it in the center of the bearing, and try to spin it around. If it spins freely and not all jaggedy, it's good. But if it's all jaggedy and nasty, you want to replace it. As you can see, I took the cover off and they're not looking too pretty in there. So we'll add that to our list. Now to get this gear out of here, it has another one of those lovely little C-clips that I love so well. Get the C-clip out, that comes off. See this close enough? See that there's a couple teeth missing on here, but this is a bad final gear. It will be replaced with this final gear set right here, HPI 8A55. It's relatively cheap. It's about $6. You can get it at RC Car Kings or any other hobby store around you. So by now you're loving these little clips. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean this out a little bit better, because you want to make sure everything's out of there, because if you have any kind of a foreign object in there, it can wipe out your diff and you'll be doing this all over again. So you don't want to do that. So I'll clean that out and I'll install this final gear set, and then we should be ready to put it back together. You can see I cleaned out the inside of the housing, and it's all nice and clean. I checked the bearings, they're like brand new. Okay, as you can see, I've got all the gunk and goop and all that stuff cleaned out of there. Everything looks good in both of the containers. So now what I want to do is I'm going to put some grease in here before we put it inside. So I'll do that right now. As you can see, I packed it with some oil and I put the main diff gear back in. So now we just basically got to put the axles on, and I'll go back to you. When you get to this point, this is what it should look like. You should have it all pretty much back together except for the other side of the housing. When you're all greased up, this is what you should look like right here, all ready to go. Before you can put your large bevel gear back in, make sure you put the large bearings on with the little like washer underneath it. Make sure that washer's there because it's important. You just kind of slide it down in there like so. Make sure your teeth are facing to the left as you're looking at it, and put the axles in, and we'll go from there. Then put the cover on. Now that you got your differential gears back into the housing, all the bevel gears are in place, and everything spins and turns like it's supposed to, it's time to put on the shock adapters. And they go on top the way you took them off. Hopefully you were paying attention. And just pop them back on the way they came off, and we'll go to the next step. Now you want to take your smaller screws and put the shock holders together and kind of lock them in, kind of like I got there on top. Do it on both sides. Now that you got it all together, it should look like this. Like I said, I left my shocks on because it takes care of a step. Now our next step is to put on the axle carriers over the hubs there. So we'll do that on both sides, and then we should be ready to put it back onto the truck. But this is optional. You can clean your part off if you want. If not, it's not going to hurt it any. One important note here on the axle carriers, you'll see a number 1 and a number 2. Number 2 always goes on the left. Good rule of thumb is the bubble on the back of the axle will be going to the back of the truck. That one, and the shocks will be up. So you know that's right. So if you're looking at that way, I want to be on the left side, number 2, right side, number 1. When putting on the axle carriers, make sure that you have the holes lined up. There's 2 little holes on the side, and there's 2 little holes on the axle carrier that the 2 small screws have to go in. So you're going to make sure you line up those holes properly. Your finished product should look like this. If it don't, you did something wrong. But now we're ready to put this back in the truck. The first step you want to do in putting this back on the truck is you're going to want to attach the shocks. Each shock will attach to the shock towers on each side. And there we'll do that. And then after you attach them, then you need to attach the bottom brackets and braces. So I'm going to attach the shocks and the braces and show you what it looks like when it's all together. On a quick side note here, there's a little bracket that attaches right on the housing right there for this mounting post to mount to. So make sure that you get that bracket in there. You can see it right here. There's 2 screws that hold it on. So you're going to want to make sure you get that in there because it's going to hold the mounting post on. Well, hopefully your truck looks like this now. If it don't, you need to go back a couple steps. But as you see, everything is in place. I got all screws back in where they belong, the steering, the stabilizer bar, wheelie bar, whatever kind of bar you want to say it is. Everything's attached except for these brackets here, and this is where it gets tricky because remember those lovely little E-clips that we had before? Well, we get to deal with them again. So those really small little ones, can you see that one hanging there? Yeah. Okay, these little E-clips or whatever you want to call them things, hold a bracket in place. So go right in like in here and in here. Well, now we got everything together here. So now all we have to do is, I think, just put the tires on, throw a battery in her, and see if what we did worked. Well, let's put her on the floor and see what she does, shall we? Back forward. And we got backward. Well, that concludes another RC Repair 101. I hope you find this informative or entertaining. Either one's fine. I want to thank you again for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.